The operation to put in the tube went well, and now the alignment of the pedals is locked in, the alignment of the wheel is locked in. There's no steering on this bike, which is good, fewer things to align. So I've accomplished now the most of the very critical alignments, and we're just going to roll on. The next step is going to be to come up with a foot and to attach the rear. The angle ended up a lot steeper than I was thinking, which is, I guess, okay. It could end up that this thing is a little bit more compact. As you can see, the style of the work is very artistic, and I'm using what my friend Jay Brummel calls the eye-chrometer a lot. That's more like it. All right, now what if it ended up looking like this? That's starting to look like something that I might want to lock in. When you use the single layer forms, the fitting up of the pieces is pretty easy. Trying not to go too far. And now I'm going to show you the value of keeping your forms. So this is the removable, reusable form. I'm now going to put it in and use it as something rigid with which to do a plunge cut. If this were a metal process, then what would happen next would be like tiny little zaps here to keep this in place, then check the alignment one more time, and then go in for the long welds that completely enclose it. The method that I'm developing is when this single layer tube becomes a form, and then you put your strengthening layers on the form, and then the strengthening layers are left long so that you bring it over to your frame, and then you take the things that are left long and just overlap them, and then they're really already pointing in the correct directions for maximum strength. So you're going from something that's so thin that you can squeeze it and dent it to something that's going to sound like this and has that robustness. So I'm aiming for 6 layers total, and should I go for 7? I think instead of going for 7, which would lock in this structure better, I might end up making a small joiner beam because, you know, we're playing with light here, so it's just going to be one more tube to accentuate a beautiful flow. That will be an easier way to add strength than just increasing the number of layers of this. Plus, I can do 6, let it harden, see how strong it is, learn something from that, and then, you know, put my weight on it, see if it sags, and then decide whether to do a small tube here, which would be in tension. This is so straightforward because what we're doing is we are creating the tube. So this tube doesn't exist yet. This is a single layer hollow mandril that gets left in to the part. And then by adding 5 layers, I'm turning it into a structural tube. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to spread this out. Should I use this excess? I guess I could use the excess. Fold it under. Yeah, and let's do that with this. I'm going to use that excess too. That's good. So then I'm not wasting any material. Nothing's going to get cut off later. The goal is to find a good way to use all of that material. I think I'm going to be able to get it. Now we're coming closer in here, and I'm opening this up like a flower. Position it. And look how quick it is to make a weld. It is so quick to make welds in this style. I'm gonna get that nice rounded weld. Look at that. I could just walk away and it would probably work. But I'm going to thoroughly wet this out, and then I'm gonna consider locking it in with electrical tape, which now I'm checking the alignment. Should I do the electrical tape, or should I just let it be? Letting it be has the advantage of not having to see little lines that then get sanded off. Letting it be has the advantage of being done. Okay, so we're gonna now do a demolding. I've been working out this process for how to do rapid development of bicycle frames without CAD, using low-tech but rapid forms and processes. So for the Transclucent Fender Blender Pro, I wanted to make a crossbeam. Crossbeam is what keeps the bike stable. People are going to be really pulling hard on the handlebars. That force gets transmitted to this area, and then you know, this beam has to be very strong. I took a stick of wood and then rolled some cardboard up in it, and the cardboard, you know, has the nice folds, so it does a pretty good job. And then I would cut it, and then I would use strapping tape. It has fiberglass fibers, so when you pull on it, it's pretty good in tension. I wanted to show the process of the demolding. The tools are really simple. I already got the stick out of this chamber, and now I'm gonna get the stick out of this chamber. This is a 2-chamber design because of the goal of illumination. So how do I get the stick out? I don't want to cut too many of these fibers in the tape if I don't have to. I've already done some beating up on this, so I was kind of hoping for a home run, as I usually am when I do this kind of stuff. I'm hoping for a home run right off the bat, but since I didn't get a home run, I'm gonna now try the normal struggle. So there's a bunch of little pushing tools involved. So now these things are both hollow. So if I smash it, it's just gonna crumple here. Actually, you don't really wanna smash it. What I wanna do is I wanna use this long, thin stick, and then I wanna create separation all the way up. On all 4. All 4 channels of each, all 4 faces of each channel. All right, that's done. A good demolding is very visceral. Now going for the inner face. This is a tapered carbon fiber stick that was actually part of a windsurfing sail that I found on the beach. Because I removed the form, the stick around which that cardboard was wrapped, the cardboard has room to collapse when I use this long wedge. See that the end on it is tapered. So it's like a very long wedge. It ends up being like the perfect demolding tool, and I just found it randomly about a couple weeks ago. All right. Okay, so now all of the faces are unstuck. So now the process now moves to a weird twisting thing that I'll show you. What I'm trying to do is grab this fibers of the fibrous tape and then kind of see if I can, oh wow, this one was easy, cool. And I even put in a feature over here. I even put in this feature so that I could pull with it. Nice. So that's the removal process. And I'm hoping this other one will be easy as well. And it probably should be. I'm gonna pull it from this side and slice this side off. And you know, because this is a learning process for me, I'm not trying that hard to make this particular form reusable, but there are ways to make them reusable. And there are ways to make them reusable that are not expensive. So this one's reusable. This one was a pink foam shaped thing that I used to make the top tube. I later put a feature in it that compresses a little bit for easy withdrawals. All right. There it is. So this is a pretty great result. I wanted it to be rigid enough that when I do those smashing moves to get like the stick of wood out, that it wouldn't collapse. I didn't want to see like areas that look white after the demolding effort. Demoldings are often kind of violent, so it has to be strong enough to resist that. I went with 3 layers of sleeving and 1 layer of outer sleeving. You can see it's got 2 chambers in there. That's because I wanted it to have a rib down the middle for strength, because it's going to be asked to do a lot of that. So I really wanted to work quickly. This whole thing I made, I was trying to get home to feed my dog. This is my style. I want things to happen quickly. That's why I end up using the cheap materials, because the whole process is less precious to me. I want to get the result. I want to get a hollow form. I'm now going to be able to put sleeves over sleeves over sleeves on this, and it will look beautiful. All of the, you know, little edges of this stage of the process will be gone. It'll be like beautifully translucent, but I needed a hollow form to do that. Demoldings are stressful, therefore it is good to do them earlier in the process. Let's get your demoldings out of the way early So make your form just strong enough to be able to demold. In this case, it was actually 4 layers of glass, which is a reasonably strong tube. It probably will end up being 6 total, 6 or 7 layers total. I can still kind of like flex. Yeah. I can, with 3 layers plus 1 sleeve on the outer, I can still flex it. You don't want to see flex. Like this thing, if it's strong enough, it's got to be so strong that you wouldn't be able to flex that. So 3 more outer sleeves, and that's going to be a very quick phase because of the fact that this thing's already so rigid and it's already hollow. So like, get your demoldings done sooner than later. That gets the stressful part behind you. Then you can just move to the strengthening layers